Champagne and sparkling wine. Be careful not to put your foot in your mouth when discussing these wines. A wine labeled as champagne must come from the Champagne region of France. The quickest way to show that you're a novice is to refer to a sparkling wine from California as champagne. Unfortunately, this occurs quite often. You may use the term sparkling wine when it comes from anywhere else. Located north of Burgundy, we can easily surmise that the climate of Champagne is cool. The soil here is quite chalky, which helps reflect the sunlight to the grapes during the growing season. Its natural conductive properties keep the vines warmer in winter and cooler in summer. So when drinking champagne, if you pick up on a bit of chalk, know that it is a derivative of the soil and not a faulty wine. Champagne is made predominantly from one or a combination of 3 grapes: Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, or Pinot Meunier. Chardonnay and Pinot Noir we already know as white and black grapes respectively. Pinot Meunier is also a black grape. Within Champagne, there are 5 subregions with different specialties. Côte de Blanc uses Chardonnay, Montagne de Reims likes Pinot Noir, and Vallée de la Maine uses Pinot Meunier. The last 2, Côte de Sézanne and Côte de Bar, use all 3. Sparkling wines made with white grapes are called Blanc de Blanc. Those made with red, or black grapes, are called Blanc de Noir. When choosing a grape for sparkling wine production, high acid and low sugar are key. To understand why, you need to know a few things about winemaking. First, during fermentation, sugar is converted to alcohol. Therefore, low sugar equals low alcohol. Second, alcohol kills yeast. When the yeast is gone, fermentation stops. Finally, sparkling wines go through a second fermentation. Yeast is necessary for this additional process. As such, low alcohol ensures enough yeast is around to finish the job. If the bottle is labeled as vintage, this means that it contains only grapes picked during that particular year. A non-vintage is going to consist of grapes of several different vintages. In fact, it really should be dubbed multi-vintage to avoid confusion. Since a wine will only be labeled vintage if the weather conditions and thus the yield of that particular year are exceptional, these wines are going to cost more. Sparkling wines from areas outside Champagne may or may not have such strict regulations as to the required ingredients. While you may very well find one or more of the 3 grapes present, you're also likely to find other local varieties. To give you some examples, the Loire Valley will use Chenin Blanc, Germany will use Riesling and/or Gewürztraminer, sparkling wines of Italy will include Muscat, Braccetto, or Glera, which is the Prosecco grape, where Spain will use Xarel-lo, Macabeo, and Parellada. Australia is making sparkling wines with Shiraz, and the United States like to use the traditional grapes, but also may include Pinot Blanc. There are 7 styles or sweetness levels of champagne and sparkling wine. They are as follows, starting with the most dry. Brut nature, which is next to no sugar. Extra brut, really dry. Brut, dry. Extra dry, semi-dry. Sec, which is semi-sweet. Demi-sec, which is sweet. And doux, really sweet. Most of what you're going to see on the shelves will be brut, extra dry, and demi-sec. If you are not yet sure which sweetness level you prefer, choose a brut or extra dry and 1 sec or demi-sec for this exercise. If you're already confident that you like dry wines better, choose 1 each of the first 2. If your sweet tooth carries over to your choice of wine, try 1 of each of the last 2 and note how they compare as you go along the sweetness scale. You may also want to choose a Blanc de Blanc to compare with a Blanc de Noir. If you do this, make sure the wines are of the same sweetness level. Which do you prefer? How do the flavors stack up against the still wines that you may have tried made from the same grapes? Before you start uncorking your new purchases, we should talk a little bit about the proper method of opening a bottle of champagne or sparkling wine. The pent-up carbon dioxide inside can lead to some unfortunate accidents if you're not careful. Make sure the wine is chilled well before you start, and do not ever point the bottle at anyone or anything that you don't want broken. To begin, place the kitchen towel or serving napkin next to the bottle. Make sure the bottle has been well chilled. Then remove the foil. Fold the towel over the top of the bottle, and with your thumb on the top of the bottle, loosen the cage, but do not remove it. With the top of the bottle in one hand, maintaining a firm grip on the cork and the bottom of the bottle in the other, slowly begin turning the bottom of the bottle. Never remove your thumb from the top, and always point the bottle away from danger. The pressure inside will push the cork out. If you really want to open a champagne bottle like a professional, practice until you can remove the cap with only a hiss, not a pop. On the label, you should see the term champagne or sparkling wine. There will be others, but we can get to that in part 2. In the bottle, you should detect grain fruit, stone fruit, mineral, chalk, especially in Champagne region, yeast, which will show as bread, biscuit, toast, and nut. What to drink with champagne, other than everything? It can be used as an aperitif. It is a classic companion for oysters or caviar, perfect with sushi and fried foods. It's one of the few things that you can actually pair with egg dishes and fruit.